Hi everyone at Brick Breakfast. Amazing to be here. And thanks so much to Alistair and Ellie for actually inviting me here to speak. So today I'm going to speak about self-motivation. Now, do you know that one of the biggest killers of small businesses is lack of self-motivation? Now, I'm not just talking about motivation, I'm talking about self-motivation, coming from the self. And so my name is Michelle Attias, and I was a psychotherapist for many years. For about 12 years before I transitioned into coaching. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, oh, here's another coach who's going to give us strategies and tips and things that are never going to run the test of time. But you see, the way that I work is not on strategies and tips. Is I work very deeply with my clients, the way I coach them, so that what they do and how they build their business is really from inside, from the self. So the way that I want to put my talk is, I want to talk a little bit about myself, a bit of my personal story. And then I obviously want to talk about motivation, self-motivation, and then I want to leave some time for questions. But along the way, if any of you want to put your hand up and share something that perhaps you have an insight, perhaps you want to share something that helps you in your motivation, please do so, because I want this to be interactive if it needs to be. I want this to be helpful for all of you. So when I talk about my story, what I'd like to do is I'd like to weave self-motivation into it, because it's really important, because I struggled with motivation for a long time. And as some of you might know, some of you that I know here today, I'm originally from Gibraltar. And I left Gibraltar when I was about 18 years old. And I lived in Israel for a few years. And then I came to live in the UK. So back in 1991, I was working in finance services. I was working in private banking. I was working in a bank in Bond Street, actually. And so my work was about counting people's money. It was about, writing reports, doing all the kind of mundane things you do in a bank. When I think back to that time, was I motivated? Absolutely not. I hated it. I hated the financial aspect of it. I hated counting money. It wasn't even something that I was particularly interested in. But it was very prestigious. And I was part of the corporate world and had a lovely uniform. And I thought, well, maybe I'll promote myself along the ranks. But my heart just wasn't there. This just wasn't what I wanted to do. But if I think back, there was one thing that motivated me to be in the bank. And that was that the bank was an extremely sociable environment. There were so many people there. And I loved connecting. I loved speaking to people. I loved asking them about their problems, and that was natural for me. And so I was always the one who knew in the bank who was having an affair with who was who was secretly applying for other jobs, whose marriage was at the end, basically. And so I knew everybody's issues, because that was what I was really interested in, underneath all of the actual corporate stuff. So in fact, at the bank, I used to spend, because I was one of the youngest girls at the bank, I was probably in my early 20s, I used to spend a lot of time in the filing room. I used to do a lot of the banking filing, and the filing room was this large room which was a walk-through. There was a door here, a door there. Staff used to walk from one side to the other. And as they walked through, I actually used to ask them, how are you doing? How are you feeling today? What's going on? And as they walked, they used to stop in their tracks and sit on a stool just next to me and proceed to tell me their problems. But I still didn't get what I needed to be doing. It was pointing to that direction. And in fact, the entire bank called that filing room Michelle's therapy room. And still I didn't get it. Still, I wanted to push myself to be motivated to be in the bank, because that's where I felt I should be. It took many years later, when I was going through a really difficult time in my personal life. By then I was divorced, I had 2 young babies, 2 young little girls, and that I had to really look deep inside myself. What did I really want to do? Where was my heart? And so I decided to set off and go to university and become a psychotherapist. Now, I had to start writing academic papers. I was bringing up my 2 little girls by myself. I was a lot of sleepless nights. I was working 3 jobs. I was doing my clinical hours at the Tavistock Clinic at the time. Really, really hard. Now, was I motivated? Absolutely, yes. Totally motivated, because this was coming from my heart. This is what I totally wanted to do. Absolutely. And the reason why I was motivated was because I had a big, fat, whopping why. I wanted to be an amazing role model to my girls as they grew up. I wanted to be a somebody. I wanted to be a professional. I didn't want to count other people's money at the bank. I wanted to make my own money. And so that is what drove me on. Along going to university, bringing up the girls, doing all sorts of different things. I was internally motivated. I didn't need any strategies. I didn't need any tips. I didn't need to read any books about motivation. Just didn't need it. So essentially, what is your why? What motivates you to get up in the morning, to do what you do? Why are some of you not in employment? Why are you setting up your own business? What is it that you really want? Is it because of your family, your kids, something personal to you? What is it? Is that something that's really, really important to connect to? Because it'll take your business to another level. And so, to illustrate another example, I had a coaching client a couple of months ago, and he has an online business. I'm going to call him Gary just to protect his anonymity. So Gary came to me because he was completely unmotivated on his online business. So I asked him, please could you elaborate over what your business is so we can really see where the problem is coming from. So Gary started to talk to me about his business, and I have a confession to make. I was completely bored. I was bored, I was uninvested, I was disconnected. And I know that when I feel like that, I can't listen anymore. I have to actually stop the person as they're speaking. So I asked Gary gently, just stop for a minute. I mean, even his body language was all scrunched up. He was all in his head trying to tell me what he wanted to do, and I just didn't believe it. So as I asked him to stop, I told him to sit back, and I told him, what do you really want? What do you really want? And he came to life. He came to life. His eyes lit up, his body language changed, and he said, actually, I tell you what I really want. I want to create a Greek restaurant with a great vibe, because I used to spend the most amazing times in my life in Greece. And every time I think about Greece, I feel so happy. And I love cuisine, and I would love to set up a restaurant. So here he was trying to be motivated with his online business, which really didn't mean anything to him, but what he really wanted was something completely different. So he described to me the foods he would serve, the wines. I mean, I could literally imagine myself sitting at the table, being wined and dined in this place. Now that's what I want to invest in, not in his other stuff. But it was important to tell the truth, to really tell the truth about his business. And that is that right now it's an online business that he can make money for, only so that he can start to create the restaurant. So he can start to create what he really, really wants in his life. And this is about telling the truth about your business. In a way, what's getting in the way of your motivation? What is getting in the way? What's not working? And so what I like to do is I like to actually ask my clients 4 questions. And that was the title of my talk, actually, self-motivation. The only 4 questions you need to ask. And so I ask my clients 4 questions, and they're very easy questions, not rocket science questions, they're very basic. And this is, first of all, what's working? What's not working? What's missing? And what's next? As in, what do you want to create? So, is there anybody here, and we're all here amongst friends, is there anybody here that would love to explore this with me? Just here right now. I mean, I'm sure that, you know, I know it would be a bit exposing, but everybody else would learn from what you're sharing. Because I can imagine that all of you, or at least half of you here, are dealing with the same type of issue. So would anybody like to explore their business in relation to these 4 questions? And I'm happy to run you through it. Any volunteers? And that's why you have to work on yourself, on your motivation, and that people pick up on that. Because if we're sort of, you know, kind of discounting the prices and we're haggling along with how much we're going to be charging, people pick up on that. People want to see, you know, when we all put our prices out there and we know how much our service is of value, people pick it up. Think, actually, I'll pay for that. I know I've paid for crazy things in my life because I valued it enough. And that's what it's about. Sorry. It's about really, as you say, it's about finding a unique selling point, showing them that what you do and what you can give, not a lot of people can. You have something unique about you. Once you find that, you can put that out to customers and to clients, and they want to work with you. They're going to pay whatever they need to pay. Because I know I've done it. I've paid a lot of money for some things which people think, oh my God, that's crazy. But I wanted to work with that person, and I knew that what they were going to give me, nobody else was going to be able to give me. So people, you know, it's how much we value or undervalue ourselves, and that's really the bottom line. Okay, so we're going to have to start wrapping up, but I can see that it became quite a lively discussion around money and other things, which I won't mention. But what I wanted to leave you with before I finish is that due to the big breakfast and being invited here to speak, I wanted to give away 5 free coaching sessions. And that's what I normally do, is I block out about 60 to 90 minutes of my time to coach people. So that's for 5 people, and it's first come, first served. I've got my card over there. It's got clarity, and in fact over there as well. It's got clarity on it. It's a black card. And you've got my email address on it. Just either email me if you're interested, because I mean, what could you really create if you were more motivated in your business? What new clients would you engage? What new projects and products and services would you bring in if you felt amazing about your business and you had a lot more clarity and focus? So first 5 people that contact me will get a free coaching call. And thank you very much. So if Alice has given me the time.
Okay, breakfast will be coming.